Continuation of Chapter 12. Learning about strategy, I say. Teamwork, maybe. Teamwork, he repeats. A laugh hitches in his throat. It sounds like a panicked breath. Maybe not, I say. Teamwork doesn't seem to be a dauntless priority. The wind is stronger now. I press closer to the white support so I don't fall, but that makes it hard to climb. Below me, the carousel looks small. I can barely see my team under the awning. Some of them are missing. A search party must have left. Four says, "It's supposed to be a priority. It used to be." But I'm not really listening because the height is dizzying. My hands ache from holding the rungs and my legs are shaking, but I'm not sure why. It isn't the height that scares me. The height makes me feel alive with energy. Every organ and vessel and muscle in my body is stinging at the same pitch. Then I realize what it is. It's him. Something about him makes me feel like I'm about to fall or turn into liquid or burst into flames. My hand almost misses the next rung. "Now tell me," he says through a bursting breath, "what do you think learning strategy has to do with bravery?" The question reminds me that he is an instructor and I'm supposed to learn something from this. A cloud passes over the moon and the light shifts from my hands. It prepares you to act, I say finally. You learn strategy so you can use it. I hear him breathing behind me loud and fast. "Are you all right, For?" "Are you human, Triss? Being up this high," he gulps for air. It doesn't scare you at all?" I look over my shoulder at the ground. If I fall now, I will die, but I don't think that I'll fall. A gust of air presses against my left side, throwing my body weight to the right. I gasp and cling to the rungs, my balance shifting. Forrest's cold hand clamps around one of my hips, one of his fingers finding a strip of bare skin just under the hem of my t-shirt. He squeezes, setting me and pushing me gently to the left, restoring my balance. Now I can't breathe. I pause, staring at my hands. My mouth feels dry. I feel the ghost of where his hand was, his fingers long and narrow. "You okay?" he asks quietly. "Yes," I say, my voice strained. I keep climbing silently until I reach the platform. Judging by the blunted ends of the metal rods, it used to have railings, but it doesn't anymore. I sit down and scoot to the end so Fork has somewhere to sit. Without thinking, I put my leg over the side. Four, however, crouches and presses his back to the metal support, breathing heavy. "You're afraid of heights," I say. "How do you survive in the dauntless compound?" "I ignore my fear," he says. "When I make decisions, I pretend it doesn't exist." I stare at him for a second. I can't help it. To me, there's a difference between not being afraid and acting in spite of fear, as he does. I have been staring at him too long. "What?" he says quietly. "Nothing." I look away from him and toward the city. I have to focus. I climbed up here for a reason. The city is pitch black, but even if it wasn't, I wouldn't be able to see it very far. A building stands in my way. "We're not high enough," I say. I look up. Above me is a tangle of white bars, the wheels scaffolding. If I climb carefully, I can wedge my feet between the supports and the crossbars and stay secure, or as secure as possible. "I'm going to climb," I say, standing up. I grab one of the bars above my head and pull myself up. Shooting pains go through my bruised side, but I ignore them. "For God's sake, Stiff," he says. "You don't have to follow me," I say, staring at the maze of bars above me. I shove my foot onto the place where two bars cross and push myself up, grabbing another bar in the process. I sway for a second, my heart beating so hard I can't feel anything else. Every thought I have condenses into a heartbeat, moving at the same rhythm. "Yes, I do," he says. This is crazy, and I know it. A fraction of an inch of a mistake, half a second of hesitation, and my life is over. Heat tears through my chest, and I smile as I grab the next bar. I pull myself up, my hand shaking, and force my leg under me so I'm standing on another bar. When I feel steady, I look down at Four, but instead of seeing him, I see straight to the ground. I can't breathe. I imagine my body plummeting, smacking into the bars as it falls down, and my limbs broken in angles on the pavement, just like Rita's sister when she didn't make it onto the roof. Four grabs a bar with each hand and pulls himself up. Easy, like he's sitting up in bed. But he is not comfortable or natural here. Every muscle in his arm stands out. It is a stupid thing for me to think when I'm 100... This is a stupid thing for me to think when I am 100 feet off the ground. I grab another bar, find another place to wedge my foot. When I look at the city again, the building isn't in my way. I'm high enough to see the skyline. Most of the buildings are black against a navy sky, but the red lights at the top of the hub are lit. They blink half as fast as my heartbeat. Behind the buildings, the street looks like tunnels. For a second, I see only a dark blanket over the land in front of me, just faint differences between buildings and sky and street and ground. Then I see a tiny pulsing light on the ground. "See that?" I say, pointing. Forrest stops climbing when he's right behind me and looks over my shoulder, his chin next to my head. His breath flutters against my ear, and I feel shaky again, like I did when I was climbing the ladder. Yeah, he says. A smile spreads across his face. It's coming from the dark. It's coming from the park at the end of the pier, he says. Figures. It's surrounded by open space, but the trees provide some camouflage. Obviously not enough. Okay, I say. I look over my shoulder at him. We are so close, I forgot where I am. Instead, I notice that the corners of his mouth turn down naturally, just like mine, and that he has a scar on his chin. I say. I clear my throat. Start climbing down. I'll follow you. Four nods and steps down. His legs are long, so he finds a place on his foot and guides his body between the bars. Even in the darkness, I see that his hands are bright red and shaking. I step down with one foot, pressing my weight into one of the crossbars. The bar creaks beneath me and comes loose, clattering against half a dozen bars on the way down and bouncing onto the pavement. I'm dangling from the scaffolding with my toes swinging in midair. A strangled gasp escapes me. 4! I try to find another place to put my foot, but the nearest foothold is a few feet away, further than I can stretch. My hands are sweaty. I remember wiping them on my slacks before the choosing ceremony, before the aptitude test, before every important moment, and I suppress a scream. I will slip. I will slip. Hold on, he shouts. Just hold on. I have an idea. He keeps climbing down. He's moving in the wrong direction. He should be coming toward me, not going away from me. I stare at my hands, which are wrapped around the narrow bars so tightly my knuckles are white. My fingers are dark red, almost purple. They won't last long. I won't last long. I squeeze my eyes shut. Better not to look. Better to pretend that none of this exists. I hear 4 sneakers squeak against the metal and rapid footsteps on the ladder rungs. 4! I yell. Maybe he left. Maybe he abandoned me. Maybe this is a test of my strength, of my bravery. I breathe in my nose and out my mouth. I count my breaths to calm down. 1, 2. In, out. Come on, 4, is all I can think. Come on, do something. When I hear something wheeze and creak, the bar I'm holding shudders and I scream through my clenched teeth as I fight to keep my grip. The wheel is moving. Air whips around my ankles and wrists as the wind gushes like a geyser. I open my eyes. I'm moving toward the ground. I laugh, giddy with hysteria as the ground comes closer and closer, but I'm picking up speed. If I don't drop at the right time, the moving cars and metal scaffolding will drag my body and carry me with them, and then I will really die. Every muscle in my body tenses as I hurtle towards the ground. When I see the cracks on the sidewalks, I drop. My body slams to the ground, feet first. My legs clap beneath me, and I pull my arms in, rolling as fast as I can to the side. The cement scrapes my face, and I turn just in time to see a car bearing down on me like a giant shoe about to crush me. I roll again, and the bottom of the car skims my shoulder. I'm safe. I press my palms to my face. I try to get up. If I did, I'm sure I would just fall back down. I hear footsteps, and 4's hand wraps around my wrists. I let him pry my hands from my face. He encloses one of my hands perfectly beneath 2 of his. The warmth of my skin overwhelms the ache in my fingers from holding the bars. You all right? He asks, pressing our hands together. Yeah. He starts to laugh. After a second, I laugh too. With my free hand, I push myself into a sitting position. I am aware of how little space there is between us, 6 inches at most. That space feels charged with electricity. I feel like it should be smaller. He stands, pulling me up with him. The wheel is still moving, creating a wind that tosses my hair back. You could have told me that the Ferris wheel still worked, I say, trying to sound casual. We wouldn't have had to climb in the first place. I would have, if I had known, he said. Couldn't just let you hang there, so I took a risk. Come on, time to get their flag. 4 hesitates for a moment and then takes my arms in his fingertips, pressing the insides of my elbow. In other factions, he would give me time to recover, but he is dauntless, so he smiles at me and then starts toward the carousel, where our team members guard the flag, and I half run, half limp beside him. I still feel weak, but my mind is awake, especially with his hands on me. Christina is perched on one of the horses, her long legs crossed and her hands around the pole, holding the plastic animal upright. Our flag is behind her, a glowing triangle in the dark. 3 dauntless-born initiates stand among the other worn and dirty animals. One of them has his hand on a horse's head, and a scratched horse eye stares at me between his fingers. Sitting on the edge of the carousel is an older dauntless, searching for her quadruple piercing eyebrow with her thumb. Where'd the others go? Asked 4. He looks as excited as I feel, his eyes wide with energy. Did you guys turn on the wheel? The older girl asks. What the hell were you thinking? You might as well have just shouted, "Here we are! Come and get us!" She shakes her head. If I lose again this year, the shame will be unbearable. 3 years in a row? The wheel doesn't matter, said Four. We know where they are. We? Says Christina, looking from Four to me. Yes, while the rest of you were twiddling your thumbs, Triss climbed the Ferris wheel to look for the other team, he says. What do we do now, then? Asks one of the Dauntless-born initiates through a yawn. Four looks at me. Slowly, the eyes of the other initiates, including Christina, migrate from him to me. I tense my shoulders, about to shrug and say, I don't know, and then an image of the pier stretching out behind me comes into my mind. I have an idea. Split in half, I say. 4 of us go to the right side of the pier, 3 to the left. The other team is in the park at the end of the pier, so the group of 4 will charge as the group of 3 sneaks behind the other team to get the flag. Christina looks at me like she no longer recognizes me. I don't blame her. Sounds good, says the other girl, clapping her hands together. Let's get this night over with, shall we? Christina joins me in the group going to the right, along with Uriah, whose smile looks white against his skin's bronze. I didn't notice before, but he has a tattoo of a snake behind his ear. I stare at its tail, curling around his earlobe for a moment, but then Christina starts running and I have to follow her. I have to run twice as fast to match my short strides with her long ones. As I run, I realize that only one of us will get to touch the flag, and it won't matter that it was my plan and my information that got us to it, if I'm not the one who grabs it. Though I can barely breathe as it is, I run faster, and I'm on Christina's heels. I pull my gun around my body, holding my finger over the trigger. We reach the end of the pier, and I clap my mouth shut to keep my loud breaths in. We slow down so our footsteps aren't as loud, and I look for the blinking light now. Again. Now that I'm on the ground, it's bigger and easier to see. I point and Christina nods, leading the way towards it. Then I hear a chorus of yells, so loud they make me jump. I hear puffs of air as paintballs go flying and splat as they find their targets. Our team is charged. The other team runs to meet us, and the flag is almost unguarded. Uriah takes aim and shoots the last guard on the thigh. The guard, a short girl with purple hair, throws her gun to the ground in a tantrum. I sprint to catch up to Christina. The flag hangs from a tree branch high above my head. I reach for it, and so does Christina. Come on, Triss, she says. You're already the hero of the day. You know you can't reach it anyway. She gives me a patronizing look, the way some people look at the children when they act too adult, and snatches the flag from the branch. Without looking at me, she turns and gives a whoop of victory. Uriah's voice joins hers, and then I hear a chorus of yells in the distance. Uriah claps my shoulder, and I try to forget about the look Christina gave me. Maybe she's right. I've already proved myself today. I do not want to be greedy. I do not want to be like Eric, terrified of other people's strength. The shouts of triumph become infectious, and I lift my voice to join in, running towards my teammates. Christina holds the flag up high, and everyone clusters around her, grabbing her arm to lift the flag even higher. I can't reach her, so I stand off to the side, grinning. A hand touches my shoulder. Well done, Force says quietly. I can't believe I missed it, Will says again, shaking his head. Wind coming through the doorway of the train car blows his hair in every direction. You were performing the very important job of staying out of our way, says Christina, beaming. Al groans. Why did I have to be on the other team? Because life's not fair, Albert, and the world is conspiring against you, said Will. Hey, can I see the flag again? Peter, Molly, and Drew sit across from the members in the corner. Their chests are back and backs are splattered with blue and pink paint, and they look dejected. They speak quietly, shaking their heads and looking at the rest of us. Especially Christina. That is the benefit of not holding the flag right now. I am no one's target, or at least no more than usual. So, you climbed the Ferris wheel, huh? Says Uriah. He stumbles across the car and sits next to me. Marlene, the girl with the flirty smile, follows him. Yes, I say. Pretty smart of you, like erudite smart, Marlene says. I'm Marlene. Triss, I say. At home, being compared to an erudite would be an insult, but she says it like a compliment. Yeah, I know who you are, she says. The first jumper tends to stick in your head. It had been years since I jumped off the building in my abnegation uniform. It had been decades. Uriah takes one of the paintballs from his gun and squeezes it between his thumb and index finger. The train lurches to the left and Uriah falls against me, his finger pinching the paintball until a stream of pink, foul-smelling paint sprays on my face. Marlene collapses and giggles. I wipe some of the paint from my face slowly and then smear it on his cheek. The scent of fish oil wafts through the train air. Ew! He squeezes the ball at me again, but the opening is on the wrong side, and the paint sprays into his mouth instead. He coughs and makes exaggerating, gagging sounds. I wipe my face with my sleeve, laughing so hard my stomach hurts. If my entire life is like this, loud laughter and bold action, and the kind of exhaustion you feel after a hard but satisfying day, I will be content. As Uriah scrapes his tongue with his fingertips, I realize that all I have to do is get through initiation and that life will be mine.